Matriculants who wrote the National Senior Certificate are anxiously awaiting their results, which will be released at midnight tonight. Ahead of that, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga will be announcing the National Senior Certificate pass rate around 6 p.m. tonight. Our reporter Mahlako Komane, who is covering the event earlier, spoke to NATU's Allan Thompson.
We are indeed still here at the Voter World, waiting for the results to be made, the national pass rate to be announced, and also just seeing what's going to be happening in terms of the provincial log, who's sitting where, what distinctions are looking like. We're also joined by the NATU president to tell us a little bit more about the issue of sanitary towels in schools. We know that the department was championing sanitary towels being brought into, being distributed to learners this year. Thank you so much for talking to us, Mr. Thompson. Can you just please tell me, it looked like for a minute there that NATU was not too happy with what was happening in terms of sanitary towels being rolled out for learners in schools.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Well, it's not true that NATU was not necessarily happy about the initiative itself. We had no problem with the initiative. In fact, we are one of the people who supports that. The only difficulty that we had was when there was an overspending when it comes to the issue of the purchasing of sanitary towels, owing to the fact that there was 20 million that was budgeted for it. But at the end of the day, we ended up having more than 200 million that was spent on that. And our difficulty was that we were having schools that were without teachers. We were having positions, over 4,000 positions that were vacant, which means people were supposed to be employed so that they can be able to give support to schools. We were having grade R learners to grade 3 learner schools that were oversupplied also with sanitary towels. We had difficulty of sick rooms that ended up being converted into the storage rooms for the sanitary towels. So the issue was not about the distribution. The issue was not about making it available to the most vulnerable learners. But the issue was when the grade R educated learners were given such, and when the parents started to confront our members, the teachers in particular, to say to them, why do you want us to introduce sex education to a child that is as little as 5 years? So now that is why then we started to raise the issue, and the National Minister of Education decided to institute a forensic investigation, of which we are still worried about it because it has not taken off. And today, those are some of our issues that we also raised when we are having some discussion with the officials of the department, to say the department promised to institute an investigation just to find out what really happened, but we have never received a report in as far as that issue, tender processes. We even raised issues of quality, and because those sanitary towels that were made available were not even endorsed by the South African Bureau of Standards. So we wanted those cases to be investigated so that we can give assurance to parents that it was even safe for their own children to receive such.
Well, obviously the issue of sanitary towels began in KZN. As a union, will you be looking into other provinces once it's rolled out throughout the country? Are you happy that enough has been done to ensure that you don't have those type of irregularities in terms of finances where tenders just balloon up like that?
Well, what we believe it has to be done by the National Minister of Basic Education is to make sure that all the procurement processes are in place and are intact and are properly monitored. That the department does not overspend, only to find that it's supposed maybe 100 million was put aside, and then they decide to spend 200 million or 400 million, and then compromise other important programs like payment and employment of educators, which is a fundamental factor that the Department of Education should be prioritizing. And but also the involvement is what we raised to the National Minister of Basic Education, that why are we not involving the Social and Development Ministry? Why are we not involving the Minister of Women and Children? Because those are the issues that are quite relevant. Why are we not using the budget from those departments? Because we can have a joint venture. The minute you talk about the vulnerables and the girls that are dropping out from school simply because they are failing to have access to such important things that can contribute in making sure that they complete their matric, then which means it's important for all departments to be involved and make sure that all processes are being following and not compromise other programs of the department.
And this obviously we understand has come at a personal cost for you, having to walk around with bodyguards. Can you just quickly take us through that?
Well, the unfortunate thing which we are still waiting again for the Minister of Police, Ubabu Pegicele, to give us a report. We cannot link that necessarily it was directly linked to the issue of sanitary towels. It's what people are saying, and we've raised that even with the department to say this is what people are saying. But we are still waiting for the team of investigators that Minister Pegicele promised the National Teachers Union that he was going to put in place. Up to now, nothing has been made in terms of a breakthrough, getting people who are responsible for me to be shot at that particular time, but we are still waiting for progress report from those that are investigating the matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you.
And that was Allan Thomas from the South African Teachers Union. You know, speaking just briefly about the issue of sanitary towels, we know we are expecting them to be rolled out this year, 2019, throughout all the schools. But a concern that they are raising, obviously, is the issue of tender irregularities, financing, the doubling of budgets.
Meanwhile,